How do I really means, can I have permission to? No one can truly tell you how to do something. SLART the 25th of November 2023. As I enjoyed my sausage, mash, peas and onion gravy on my own during my 30-minute lunch break, I thought about how often I've asked someone else how to do something. But what was I really asking? In 2021, I emailed legendary Swindon muralist Ken White and asked him, how do I start painting murals? Cream of the Crop is a reader-supported publication. To receive new posts and support my work, consider becoming a free or paid subscriber. Subscribed. I couldn't find this email conversation when I tried searching for it recently, but in short, he said, you've just got to do it. At first read, I felt shortchanged, but then it dawned on me that no one could really help me with this. I just needed to find a way myself. In my neighbourhood, I would often walk past this large wall by the Swindon Designer Outlet Village. It was a bit of an eyesore. I'm a fan of tagging, but this wall looked pretty drab, so I thought to myself, let's paint a mural here. The Redcliffe Street wall, before photo. Months passed, and I got sick with kidney failure. Then in January 2022, I started feeling a bit better after dialysis and thought I'd email our local councillor, Jim Robbins, about the wall space. Not to be flippant about the illness, but I've written about it in other posts. Jim said he'd reach out to the landlord and see what he says. Then lo and behold, he said yes. The next stage would be the funding. I set up a GoFundMe page and thought about creating a tribute to my late tutor, Paul Moss. Not my art tutor, but my multimedia tutor. I studied web design, graphic design, 3D animation and video editing. I did look around the art block at my local college and have no idea why I didn't sign up. I think I saw more of a viable career out of new media than art. Back to Paul, he was such a wonderful guy, down to earth, techie, great sense of humor and wise. I had crippling shyness at college and Paul encouraged me to carry on with my studies, as working in web design wouldn't be as socially taxing as doing all these class presentations at college. Paul would go out of his way to help his students. He drove one student to Cardiff in Wales, 72 miles from Swindon, to visit the university to encourage him to attend. It worked. That was just the kind of guy he was. He played basketball with me one time at my local court, quite the sharpshooter he was. So, this GoFundMe page. It started off with the Paul Moss tribute and I posted it to my local community group. They said that it was not really fitting as he wasn't local to this Swindon district. I felt a bit deflated, but on reflection, it made sense if people were going to donate towards it. Then I had the idea to tweak it, and it then became a local artist community project with the theme of Swindon and Wiltshire heritage. Now that's something people can get behind. The area where the proposed mural wall is located is right next to Swindon's Outlet Village, which was previously the GWR Railway Works. They used to have great industry in Swindon and built the trains there. They were once Swindon's biggest employer. With this new local theme and initiative, the page was tweaked, put live and the money came rolling in. Within 2 weeks, we raised £700 for the new mural. I don't often blow my own trumpet. My default, sadly, has been thinking that I'm useless, but I do impress myself at times with how things fall into place. I can't really take credit, I just seem to allow things to happen. This project was a prime example of this. A woman, Helen, who lives in the area got in touch. Serendipitously, she had been trying to get a mural painted on that same wall since 2019, but then the pandemic came along and there were other priorities for all and it got put on the back burner. Helen and I met at Made in Bahia, which is a hidden gem in my town, a fantastic Brazilian cafe owned by Gerson Silva that serves fresh caipirinhas and Sagres lager on tap as well as some mouth-watering food. It's sadly one of those cafes that go unnoticed when you walk past, because it's not fancy on the outside, nor is it heavily marketed. But when you have the inkling to enter, you're greeted by a warm, inviting smile by blue-eyed, olive-skinned Gerson. It feels like you're coming into his home, you feel like you're being taken care of. Helen and I started chatting and she mentioned another artist who was involved in the initial mural discussions. He turned up 5 minutes later, a chatty, friendly, energetic artist named Cello. He showed me some of his great artwork and I felt inspired. I must admit, I felt like I wanted to work on this project myself, but I put my ego aside and let it all unfold. We started brainstorming ideas, but I got quite anxious brainstorming out loud in a group. I don't really enjoy it, to be honest. I like being alone, writing down ideas, and pondering over them. I feel too much pressure on the spot. A few ideas were flowing, I felt the anxiety rising in me, and then I thought, just let it go and see what comes. Well, it wasn't as clear as that, it was more of a feeling of, don't worry. Soon after I let go, I noticed out of the window, lovely red brick arches, part of the railway buildings. Then I said to them, I had the idea of each artist having their own arch, like the ones across the road, so it's in keeping with the area. Each artist can paint what they like in their arch, under the theme of Swindon and local heritage. I felt a bit smug when I said it out loud, even though I had a slight doubt in my tone. They both nodded in agreement, then I started mocking up the arches. 10 artists, 10 arches. Perfect. The arch opposite the Made in Bahia cafe. A couple of months passed. I was procrastinating a little on how big of a task I'd taken on. I had to remind myself that I could only do one thing at a time, so started with the brick arches. The simplest way to paint consistent bricks was to use a brick stencil, bought that, went to B&Q, got some paints, brushes, rulers, and then some spray cans from a friend's shop. We got to the vast empty wall, empty bar some badly executed graffiti tags, and proceeded to measure out 10 equal spaces for the arches. Might I add that precision makes me feel uncomfortable. It goes without saying that I want my mechanic or my kidney surgeon to be precise, but as an artist, I have become pretty good at estimation and that's fine by me. The first step, painting the arches. Once the arches were painted, I worked a bit more on my design. Having the rough dimensions now, I could put something more concrete together in Photoshop. My rough mock-up. I enjoy having a design, but then deviate slightly when I feel inspired to. Bottom left and right, Star Trek hand symbol and video icon, a nod to Paul's interests. Piece by piece, bit by bit, the mural started to take shape. The arches were now complete and the next step, we needed to find more local artists. We did it. There are 2 more arches to the right on the back of the building. It happened easily, not compiling a list of local artists, looking through their work, shortlisting and picking the best ones. Cello and I extended it to our networks, and we got 8 other artists within a few days. I got my new next-door neighbors involved. They are friends of the previous tenants and were both artists, so it was a great way to get to know them by working on this project. These are the same couple who hosted my art exhibition on the 14th of October 2023. Adam Crossland, my studio neighbor, joined in and so did Karen Coe. I got to meet a couple of awesome local street artists, Inka Mole and Jackster, as well as Harry Deering. I adore her work. Carly Byrne created an awesome, cheerful piece and runs her own pottery studio too. The Redcliffe Collective was born. The street we painted the mural on was Redcliffe Street, so we became known as the Redcliffe Collective. I felt like a cool artist at last, part of a collective. July 2022 was a hot month in the UK. Painting outdoors in the sun was idyllic for us all. Around the corner of Made in Bahia, a generous resident put a tab behind the counter there, so we could get drinks and Brazilian snacks when we needed them. An ice-cold Sagres in a frozen glass, on a hot summer's day, was heavenly. Blessedly, in a weird way, I was off work as I was on dialysis 3 times a week for 4 hours at a time. So I was able to take my time doing a bit of painting when I could manage it over the 2 weeks. I felt slight guilt as I was off work and felt that I should be resting, but my psychologist said it's okay to paint as part of your recovery. She was right. There's nothing I enjoy more. I lose myself in the act of creating art, so there's no worry and no kidney failure when I'm painting. What could be a better form of rest? Painting this mural was an idyllic couple of weeks. A dream come true. Local residents were coming up to us and thanking us for brightening up the area. Some were in tears of joy, and one older gentleman was enthralled by the railway aspect of the mural. He used to work at the railway works round the corner and came out especially to see it with his wife. It was a real buzz, a real community event. It's amazing what £700 and a group of people can do in 2 weeks to transform an area. Once the mural was complete, we had a bit of fun contacting the press. The first to pick up the story was our local rag, the Swindon Advertiser. We made the front cover of our local magazine, Swindon Link. Circulation, 40k people. Not viral social media numbers, but at least it can be read with a cuppa. The Redcliffe Collective was featured on regional and national news. SLART, second left, with the blue Game Boy t-shirt on, click the image to read the article. Video cam BBC points west, for the West of England region. I don't know if you've noticed a recurring theme in my posts. I'm constantly reminding myself of these things I write about because they help me, and they are common things that many, if not most, of us deal with in our lives. The finished piece. What do you think? When I asked Ken White, how can I paint a mural? What I was really asking him was, can you make me feel worthy of doing this project? Tell me what to do and help me do it. I wanted him to impart his wisdom to make it easier for me, and that is fine, but I realized when you do something for yourself once, it's much easier the second time. During the second time, you have the confidence to do more, and you have the memory that you have done it before. This becomes stronger the more you do it. Simple, but I forget this often. Seal of approval from art legend, Ken White. Ken White gave the right advice in the end, by saying, I just did it. Then I went ahead and just did it, too. You can do the same, step by step. My love to you, SLART. Thanks for reading my post. You can check out the mural in person by traveling to the link below. Please send us your best wishes by leaving a Google review and help spread the word for public art. https://maps.app.goo.gl/8bob8xcheck798 share ps. I gently challenge Tabitha Blair Duvet Knox Alex Dobrenko Mike Souden Mills Baker Kintra Wilson Jean S. Ray Downs Clancy Steadwell Alison Epstein Christopher Frizzell and Thomas J. Bevan to stretch yourself with a lil project that feels slightly, or massively, out of reach. Something you may have been putting off. Comment below. Remember, it's just a bit of fun, play around with it and most of all, enjoy it. Lots of love, heart.